war in West Asia is getting more dramatic by the minute. After targeting defense and nuclear assets, Israel has struck Iran's oil and gas sector. In the middle of all of this, United States President Donald Trump is back with his compulsive trade talk. Now, distancing his country from the military conflict, Donald Trump has also warned that if the United States is attacked in any way, Iran will have to face the full might of the American armed forces like never before. Now, with confrontations dominating the strategic sphere from Ukraine, Russia to Iran, Israel, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on his first trip abroad after Operation Sindoor. So apart from visiting Cyprus, Canada and Croatia, Prime Minister Modi will also be at the same table as Donald Trump at the G7 summit. The conglomeration of all these factors means that the week ahead is sure to generate a lot of globally significant headlines. Here's what the Prime Minister said while addressing the Business Roundtable meeting in Cyprus.
ये स्पष्ट है कि हमारे संबंधों में आगे बढ़ने की अपार संभावनाएं हैं। फ्रेंड, साइप्रस लंबे समय से हमारा विश्वसनीय पार्टनर रहा है, जिसका आप लोगों ने भी उल्लेख किया। कई भारतीय कंपनियों ने भी साइप्रस में और एक प्रकार से साइप्रस को यूरोप का गेटवे के रूप में ही देखा है। आज आपसी व्यापार $150 मिलियन पहुंच गया है, लेकिन हमारे रिश्तों की वास्तविक क्षमता इससे बहुत अधिक है। आपके विचारों में सिर्फ संभावना ही नहीं, संकल्प को भी मैं महसूस कर रहा हूं।
However, for the political opposition back home, it is all about securing domestic brownie points. Now, even as the Prime Minister met the President of Cyprus, a historic ally, the Congress leaders are mocking it. They're calling it a meeting with a country that is the size of a Delhi neighborhood. They're also going on to say that the Prime Minister's visit to a country like Cyprus is nothing but a photo op, as PR matters more than population. Here's what the Indian envoy to Cyprus has to say.
It has been a great friend of India in the India-EU context, and all of you know that it will take over the presidency of EU the 1st January 2026. And once we conclude the India-EU FTA, we are in the process of finalizing this document by end of the year. So it gets implemented during Cyprus presidency.
Mohit is joining us live. Mohit, you're seeing the kind of political commentary that's coming in from the Congress party since yesterday. But do tell our viewers about why this visit is so significant. What does it strategically mean for our country?
Well, Sakrika, this is the first visit of the Prime Minister to the foreign nations post-Operation Sindoor. Now, Cyprus, Croatia and Canada, these visits are very important. Now, when it comes to Canada, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as we rightly pointed out, will be sitting on the same table with the global leaders of the big countries like US, UK, Germany. And when Prime Minister is going for the G7 summit, Prime Minister surely will speak about how India has been impacted by terrorism. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with all these big world leaders, will speak about the issue of terrorism regarding Operation Sindoor, surely, and how there should be people-to-people connect between all these countries. And this comes at a time when world is reeling under the threat of war. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been invited to G7 summit in Canada, where all the top leaders from various top countries would be visiting. Now, we have seen that how earlier, before Prime Minister Narendra Modi was invited to Canada for G7 summit, Congress party came out and they raised several allegations saying that Prime Minister is not being invited, where all the big leaders of the world will be going, and it's a diplomatic blunder. But post that, we saw that how Prime Minister was invited by his Canadian counterpart, and now Prime Minister is going there. And now what we see is that again the politics has started over this particular issue. We see that how the Congress Kerala ex-handle have come out and called it a photo op, saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi again is going on tours, but the Congress party is also attacking the Prime Minister has time to visit all these countries, but he doesn't have time to visit Manipur. So what we see is politics being played on this issue. Now the BJP has hit out at the Congress party. BJP comes out.
But
and
amid
says
all the
that
politics, it's also very important to put things into perspective, Mohit, because we have to tell our viewers why Cyprus is so crucial to India, particularly in the kind of times that we are in. Cyprus matters to India because it's a small nation with big benefits. It has always taken a pro-India stand. Why are we saying so? Because back in 1998, it supported India's nuclear tests. It also backed India's candidature at the UNSC, and also it stood with India during the Indo-Pak crisis. Even significant is its anti-Turkey position. In conflict with Turkey since 1974, the Prime Minister's visit is a strategic signal to Turkey. Now remember, Turkey has backed Pakistan post the Pahalgam terror attack. It is also a key ally in the EU. It's a member of the European nation. It will hold EU presidency in 2026, and India, remember, wants stronger ties with Europe, and that is why the visit to a small country like Cyprus becomes all the more important. Then, of course, there are talks with Canada and Trump sharing the table. While the year's G7 summit focuses on energy security and the two wars, all eyes in India are going to be on what will happen between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Canada's Mark Carney. Remember, the ties saw a complete deterioration under Justin Trudeau after he accused the Indian government of being involved in Khalistani Hardeep Singh Nijjar's killing in Canada, a charge that New Delhi has vehemently denied and has called absurd. Now, Trudeau was unable to provide evidence for his accusations and also dragged Canada into the standoff with India, not on one occasion, but at multiple forums. And as the two countries had an intense diplomatic showdown, now the Prime Minister's visit, after almost 1.5 years of strained ties, could serve as a key opportunity to reset the strained bilateral relationship between the two nations. Now, Canadian Prime Minister Carney has also said that it makes sense to have the Indian Prime Minister at the G7 table.
So let's put the two aspects in context. First is we are in the role, Canada is in the role of the G7 chair. And in those discussions, as agreed with our G7 colleagues, include important discussions on energy security, on digital future, critical minerals, amongst others, and partnerships actually in building infrastructure in the emerging and developing world. There are certain countries that should be at the table for those discussions, and in my capacity as G7 chair, in consultation with others, some others, make those determinations. India, the 5th largest economy in the world, effectively the most populous country in the world, central to a number of those supply chains, at the heart of a number of those supply chains, so it makes sense. And in addition, bilaterally, we have now agreed, importantly, to continued law enforcement dialogue. So there's been some progress on that. It recognizes issues of accountability. I extended the invitation to Prime Minister Modi in that context, and he has accepted.
Srinjoy Chaudhary is joining us. Srinjoy, put into perspective why the Prime Minister's visit to Cyprus is a huge signal to Turkey, especially at times like this when we are seeing how geopolitics is constantly evolving.
It's one thing to supply a country with weapons. It's another thing to give weapons during the middle of a conflict. So when India and Pakistan were at near war, India managed to destroy one of the Pakistani AEW aeroplanes. This was a Saab, and this was an eye in the sky. And shortly after that, the Turks provided their own AEW. Now, this is a direct support of a country that India is fighting with, and that those lasted for 4 days. Now, when you go to Cyprus, it's a way of telling Turkey that, look, the Cypriots are our friends. PM has gone to Greece in the past. the Greek Prime Minister, Mr. Mitsotakis, has come to India. Now, this is a way of telling Turkey that, sure, you can give your weapons to Pakistan, but the Greeks are our friends and the Cypriots are our friends. And when our friends support us in the Mediterranean, then very clearly we have friends at Turkey's doorstep.
Yes, absolutely. Now, let's talk about the Canada angle, and I want you to stay with us because there's a lot of domestic politics that's also unraveling, because the recent overtures from both sides, that is India and Canada, show clear signs of a thaw. And also there is willingness to mend what has gone wrong. In the latest, as per the reports, the two sides have decided to share intelligence on terrorism. However, opposition leaders in the country say that the invite extended to Prime Minister was conditional, as Canada will again bring up Niger, and therefore it was inappropriate to accept the invitation sent by Canada. The BJP, though, is calling the opposition's criticism nothing but compulsive.
Our government has tried to collect this invitation, and only after that, Prime Minister of Canada has extended this invitation with certain conditions. Now Canada will talk to our Prime Minister regarding that person, I don't remember his name, who was killed according to Canada government by our government. So such kind of invitation is not proper at all.
अब दोनों आमने सामने होंगे। प्रधानमंत्री जी भारत की प्रतिष्ठा के लिए, सेना के मान सम्मान के लिए दृढ़ता दिखाइए और कहिए सार्वजनिक रूप से वहां ट्रंप से कि ये सीज फायर हम दोनों ने किया है, आपने फोर्स करके या ट्रेड की लालच देके नहीं।
जो वॉर मोदी जी ने शुरू किया था, ऐसा मोदी जी का कहना है, वो वॉर तो प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप ने मोदी को रुकवाने के लिए दबाव डाला। अब मोदी कनाडा गए हैं, साइप्रस गए हैं, क्रोएशिया, वहां जाकर वो प्रवचन देंगे।
कांग्रेस पार्टी बयान दे रही थी कि G7 की मीटिंग में नहीं बुलाया। अब G7 की मीटिंग में प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को बुलाया गया है। G7 की मीटिंग हो और बिना भारत के हो जाए, ये आज भारत की शान है। तो कांग्रेस पार्टी अपने ही सवालों में उलझ गई है। अब जब नहीं जा रहे थे, चर्चा नहीं थी कि जाएंगे कि नहीं, तब आलोचना कर रही थी। अब जा रहे हैं तो बधाई नहीं दे रही, उल्टा तंज कर रही।